If God is good, why do bad things happen? Or if God is good, why does evil prosper? One of the attributes that we are going to talk about is that the Lord is just. But when we say that the Lord is just, every time we look around and observe what is happening around us, we ask, is it true that the Lord is just? Is it true that the Lord is good? Can we put those two concepts together, those two attributes together, and declare that not only is God good all the time, but indeed the Lord is just? Every time we see the corrupt rich getting richer and the good poor or the righteous poor getting poorer, don't we ask the question, is the Lord just? If we see young children being run over by drunk drivers or being maltreated by their drug addict of fathers and lazy mothers, don't we get to ask, Lord, are you indeed just? If a very good father who is attending to his family, providing for them, loses a job, while some drug peddler on the streets would be living in luxury, don't you have that same question? Is the Lord just? Is there indeed justice in the world? How many of us have asked that question time and again? Is God really just? For after all, what does it mean to be just? If we define just, the Merriam Dictionary and Oxford Dictionary has this to say: just means conforming to a standard of correctness or acting or being in conformity with what is morally upright and good. So that means there is a standard. There is a standard of correctness. There is a standard of morality. Thus, we are able to differentiate what is good and bad, what is righteous and unrighteous, what is morally upright and morally not. So, if the Lord is just, then we know that there is a standard that needs to be obeyed. If there is a crime committed, anong mangyayari? A case is filed, and where is that filed? In court, and you are going to face a judge. Depending on the situation of the accused, if he is innocent, then the court and the judge becomes a refuge to him. If he is guilty, then humanda ka na, because you know that punishment is on the way. At paano tayo mag-punish? If there is justice, the punishment should be of the same equity or of the same weight as the crime or the mistake that is committed. Tama? Yun ang justice, because there's a standard of correctness. Pag nangurot ka lang, if you just pinched someone, anong parusa sa'yo? Kurot din. If we are going to give this definition a chance to prove right, then the crime should equate the punishment. If you did something wrong, you ought to be punished. I love watching courtroom stories, mga court shows. I love watching that because I love it how the lawyer will stand to defend his client no matter what. Kukuha sila ng detective para pag-aralan yung kanilang kaso. They will get researchers and they will defend tooth and nail to be able to prove their client innocent. Why? Because they know that if that client is proven guilty, then punishment is underway. The concept of the question whether the Lord is just is not new. It has been present even before the time of Christ. And if there's one thing that I would like you to take home today, if at the end of our conversation, wala kayong maalala ng kahit na ano, I'd like you to be able to remember this statement. That in God's justice, man's punishment is meted on the cross taken by Christ. That whatever punishment is due you, because the Lord is just, that has been meted on the cross. And that has been taken by Christ. The question of injustice or justice has happened even way before. The book of Habakkuk speaks of this because the prophet Habakkuk had asked the same question. Why, O Lord, is there such evil around me? Why, O Lord, is there such bad things that are happening around me? And Habakkuk is a unique book because when other prophets would ask for God's message and ask God to proclaim divine justice for the people, the prophet, as with any prophet, is supposed to announce something to the people, right? From God, a message is given, and the prophet is supposed to announce that to the people. But Habakkuk was different. Because what he did, normally it is God who would tell the people, you are doing something wrong. And this is what divine justice is supposed to do. But for Habakkuk, what he is doing is that he is asking the Lord to give divine justice to his people. Instead of pleading that the Lord, wag mong parusahan yung mga tao. Instead of him pleading for the people, Habakkuk was pleading against the people. He dialogues with God and asks him, Lord, ito dapat ang gawin mo. Inuutusan niya ang Panginoon. Lord, this is what you should do. Habakkuk lived at a time when the king was Josiah, that young boy of a king, wherein Judah or Israel felt prosperity, happiness, joy, richness. They were all in glee and happy. Masaya sila. They were living in affluence. Judah was then known, kilalang kilala sila, because they lived a good life at that time. But through the years, Habakkuk was able to watch and observe the deterioration that was happening to his country. Thus, he was asking the Lord, Lord, bakit nangyayari itong violence at kasamaan? Why, O Lord, is this problem happening around us? And he accuses God of not doing anything about it. So if you were there, turn to Habakkuk chapter 1, a book written by no less than the prophet Habakkuk in a period of spiritual decline. This is the first verse. He said, how long, O Lord, must I call for help, but you do not listen? Violence is everywhere. I cry, but you do not come to save. How many of us have been through that position? Lord, dasal na ako ng dasal, hindi mo ako pinakikinggan. Diba, Lord, I want to migrate to another country. Nag-migrate na nga, OFW na sa Singapore, gusto pa rin mag-migrate ulit. But you do not listen to me. How many of us have prayed so hard that ang una natin, basang-basa na ng luha, banyera na ng luha ang naiyak. But you do not come to save. That's the same question Habakkuk had with God. And he asks further, must I forever see these evil deeds? Must I watch all this in misery? So Habakkuk is expressing, Lord, I am such in a miserable state because I could see evil doings happening in my surroundings. Everything is bad. Everything is evil. He is saying that it is such a miserable state that I'm seeing. From a country that's very rich, from a country that is so blessed, here we are deteriorating with all of the violence and the wickedness that surrounds me. And Lord, what is so bad about it is that you are allowing me to watch it. Hindi ba naisip ni Habakkuk, if he is seeing it himself, if he is watching it, What do you think the Lord was seeing? If Habakkuk felt miserable, seeing all the violence and the evil deeds that was happening around them, was the Lord exempt from it? But Habakkuk was charging God, Lord, why are you keeping your eyes closed? I am hurting with what I am seeing, and you're allowing me to get hurt through the process. Let's see what Habakkuk was complaining about. What was he seeing? He said, whenever I look, I see destruction and violence. When there is violence, destruction happens. The society is broken. I am surrounded by people who love to argue and fight. Para ba sumisilip siya sa bahay natin? People who love to argue and fight. At that time, because it was so chaotic, even in the smallest of kumpulan, there's argument and there's fighting. People are arguing and fighting. And even now, even today, diba? Dati ang argument are kept inside the homes, sa mga bahay-bahay lang, o sa kwarto, in small groups, sa classroom. Ngayon, ang arguments worldwide na. Diba? Bakit? Pinopost sa Facebook. Ay nako ha, kasi simba nyo lang, ayan na naman kayo. Magbago na kayo. #forever makasalanan. Diba? Our arguments are now posted for the whole wide world to read and see. And that was the complaint that Habakkuk had. Further, he said, the law has become paralyzed. Alam niyo ba yung paralyzed? Siyang nararamdaman. He's numb. He's saying that the law has become dead, useless. Why? Because in the argument, in the fight, in the violence, the law has been set aside. There is no justice in the courts. The wicked far outnumber the righteous. Habakkuk was describing the society that he lived in. He said, mas madami na po yung masama kaysa sa mabuti. So what happened? There's no justice. Justice has become perverted. That means nabali na po ang justice. Justice has been twisted. The wrong has now become right. Am I speaking about the society today? Am I speaking about the world today? Is this how the world has reduced to be? Don't you see around you also the violence, the mess? Don't you see around you that law has been paralyzed? And what Habakkuk was describing here was not only the loss of the land, but that has also been perverted, that has also been paralyzed. It has proven inutile. It is not happening anymore. They are not looking up to the law that is going to happen. This is what was happening during that time. Ito yung iniiyak ni Habakkuk. He could see idol worship around him. But it did not end there. It was not a simple idol worship. It was not simple idolatry of carved images or images that has been made. No. But the consequence of that idol worship is a worship of a god named Molech. And that god was half calf and half man, who was made of brass, and part of Molech worship was the offering of children. What pained Habakkuk so much was the fact that children were sacrificed by who? Ng mga kababayan niya. And in the book of Leviticus, the worship of Molech was warned already by God that it was something that he abhorred and hated. The idol was made of brass with hands extended out. And what the worshipers would do was get the infants or the children and put it upon their palms while there's fire burning under him. That was the type of worship that Habakkuk was saying has perverted the sense of justice and law of his very people. Recently, we've heard of what they do with aborted babies? That they cut them up and get their organs for organ donation. And what do those people who do this say? For the advancement of science, so that they can help the future generation. Justice has been perverted. Our concept of right and wrong is now completely twisted. And that was why Habakkuk was crying, Lord, are you going to allow me to just watch these things happen? If you are a just God, do something. He was accusing God of not doing anything. And so the Lord replied, No, Habakkuk, I'm not just sitting down, nangunguyakoy at wala akong ginagawa. Look around at the nations. Look and be amazed. I am doing something in your day, something you wouldn't believe, even if someone told you about it. The Lord was going to reveal something to Habakkuk that sabi niya, pag ibang tao ang nagsabi sa'yo, if someone else revealed this to you, you wouldn't believe it. So here I am going to tell you first-hand information, blaring news right from the horse's mouth. What was that? I am raising up the Babylonians, a cruel and violent people. They will march across the world and conquer other lands. They are notorious for their cruelty, and they will do whatever they like. And then the Lord describes to him what they are going to do. So, can you imagine what Habakkuk was going through? Do you think Habakkuk was jumping up and down, receiving the news that I will be raising up the Babylonians? Even the Lord described the the Babylonians were. He was saying that they were a cruel and violent people. Remember how did Habakkuk describe his nation now? He said destruction and violence are already happening. And you are going to send the Babylonians who are known for their cruelty and who are known to be violent people. Sabi ni Lord, no, I am not just sitting down. Look and see. Judah's sin is not going to be unchecked. Justice is not dead. It is not even asleep. It is wide awake, and this is what's going to happen. I will send the Babylonians, cruel and violent, to put justice upon you. Sa kasamaan nyo, di ba ano definition natin ng justice kanina? You are going to get what you deserve. You are a violent people, I will send you the most violent of peoples. You are a cruel people, I will send you the most cruelest of people. Because that is what you deserve. You ask for justice, I will give you justice. I am not sleeping, Habakkuk. I am wide awake, and I am going to do something. And then the Lord further explains what he is going to do. Babylon is going to conquer a lot of nations. He conquered Assyria, Judah, Egypt, and even Edom. And Judah was just a small speck compared to all those countries. Remember, this was the time that the nation of Israel was divided into two kingdoms already. So half of Israel was what the Lord was speaking about. So ang liit-liit na nun compared to the other countries. He said, there is no hope. They will swoop down like eagles, devouring you like prey. That is what Babylon was compared to. They were compared to a big eagle. And Judah was just a small country that the eagle can just grab, and they will do whatever they want to you. He said once they come, all bent on violence, they will make you like captives, ahead of them like sand. Para lang kayong mga buhangin, sisipa-sipain lang kayo ng mga Babylonians, parang walang mangyayari sa inyo. He said they are confident of their strength. The Babylonians will mock, will scoff at kings and princesses, and scorn all their fortresses. That's what the Babylonians did. They would get their kings, parade them into the city, and what would they do? They would show them how weak. This is what a weakling of a leader you have. They will simply pile ramps of earth against their walls, and you will be captured. For their own strength is their God. For them, their might is divine. So whatever it is that they conquered, the Lord was describing to Habakkuk what the land of Judah was going to face. What do you think Habakkuk did? Teka muna, Lord. Habakkuk reminded the Lord, you are holy. You are eternal. Sigurado ka ba dyan sa gagawin mo? Are you sure you plan to wipe us out? But you are our Lord. You are our rock. You are our fortress. Habakkuk wanted justice. But the way justice was going to be implemented was not right according to Habakkuk's mind. Lord, masama po kami, pero sobrang sama naman nun. Compared to the Babylonians, the Israelites were such angels. Sa kasamaan nila, ang bait-bait compared ang mga taga-Juda. And that was what Habakkuk was saying. Habakkuk was having relative righteousness. He was comparing what is right and what is good based on what was happening to them. So compared to the Babylonians, Lord, ang bait-bait naman namin. We are such angels. Are you sure? He further reminds the Lord, you are pure. And you cannot stand the sight of evil. How can you send an even more evil people to correct the evil deeds that we are doing? He said, will you wink at treachery? Should you be silent while the wicked swallow the people more righteous than they? Lumabas din yung sinasabi ni Habakkuk. Lord, mas mabait naman kami. White lie lang po yung sinabi ko. Hindi naman po siya black lie, white lang. Habakkuk was forgetting the fact of what Paul has said in Romans 3:23, where he said, for everyone has sinned. And I love this translation. This is the New Living Translation. It says, we all fall short of God's glorious standard. What did we say a while ago? What does just mean? Justice means I am going to give you what you deserve. And if what Paul is saying here, that everyone is sinned, pretty much like the nation of Judah, everyone has sinned and fallen short of God's glory. What do the people deserve? Paul further says, for the wages of sin is death. So lahat tayo nagkasala. Ikaw, ako. That's what Paul said. That's what he said, he wrote in Romans. All of us has sinned and there is no exempt. And if we want the Lord to be just, we deserve death, right? We deserve death. And that was what the Lord was showing Habakkuk. If you want justice, I am sending the Babylonians. Because that is what you deserve. And if we come to God seeking for justice, the wages of sin is death. And that is what we deserve. We deserve that wage of death. And Habakkuk says at the end of it, I have heard all about you, Lord. I am filled with awe of your amazing works. But this time, he said, in your anger, remember your mercy. Remember the first time, what was Habakkuk asking? Lord, be just. Justify your people. Are you just? Give them what they deserve. But this time he's saying, Lord, in your anger, remember, you are also a merciful God. That is why, how can a just God justify the unjust and yet remain just and justifier? For him to stand for that fact that he is just, we need to be punished, right? That is how he will stand to be both just and justifier. The tension is now, how will he remain just without giving us what is due us? He has to give it. He has to punish us because we are sinful. If it is true that everyone has sinned and fallen short of God's standard, hindi po natapos yung statement ni Paul doon. Pinagpatuloy po niya yon when he said, "Yet God in His grace has freely given us the right in His sight." And how did He do this? For the Lord to remain just, punishment had to be given. And that punishment for God was presented upon Jesus Christ on the cross. Nagkasala ka, kailangan parusahan ka. But in God's grace, in God's mercy has given us something that we do not deserve. But He needs to be just. So that punishment had to be given somewhere. So in God's justice, man's punishment, it was given. It was meted on the cross. It was taken by Christ. That is why we are debtors no longer. Binigyan na tayo ng resibo. Wala na tayong kasalanan. At the end of this life's journey, what you can present to the Lord when you meet Him is a receipt that is painted on the cross that says, "Paid in full." I am justified by the cross because my punishment has been meted on the cross, taken by Christ. This is a beautiful statement by Charles Spurgeon, where he says, "Christ to the uttermost has satisfied divine justice. The account is settled. The handwriting is nailed to the cross. The receipt is given, and we are debtors to God's justice no longer, because man's punishment has been meted on the cross, taken by Christ." So what do we do? Just trust Christ. Just trust Christ. Are you not going to trust the one who took the punishment for you? Are you not going to trust that the Lord is just because man's punishment has been meted on the cross, taken by Christ?